It's done what? She's tapped into the energy generator, Captain. Why? What in the Emperor's name is it doing now? I think perhaps you should ask her yourself. I wasn't quite sure. Captain Crusher shot her first mate a look and raised her dorsal spikes in irritation, pushing past him and stalked through the corridors of her ship. The human, currently living below engineering in what, for some reason, it insisted on calling the poop deck, was constantly doing things. It vexed Crusher that the mammal laughed every time she said poop deck too. Disrespectful. First Mate F swiped his claw over the door control and allowed the captain to enter first. She was ready to deliver a stern admonishment when they both paused, nostrils flared. Aerith, what is that smell? The first mate's tongue flickered, tasting the air. It smells like flesh. Blackened. I smell charcoal. Hot metal. Agreed. A fire? He shook his feathered head, light gleaming iridescently from his scales. If it is small and controlled. Crusher rubbed her shallow chin with a slender claw. Be ready to douse the area if we find an uncontrolled conflagration. Aerith blinked his acknowledgement, and they moved forward. The human soon came into sight, squatting on its oddly hinged knees, poking at a small brazier, apparently fashioned from discarded parts from the engineering deck above them. She looked up from the cooking device and waved a spatula in friendly greeting. Watcha, Captain? How's it hanging? The two Lacertians glanced at each other, and Kershaw flicked her tongue warily. What are you doing, hairless mammal? The human made an odd expression, and its eyes rolled backwards in its skull. I told you, it's Sam. She stood, springy legs jolting her up suddenly. It still made Crusher queasy watching how those tiny backwards limbs propelled her graciously around. The captain asked you what you are doing, human. Sam looked at F, a clearly sardonic grin on her face. Why, I'm having a little cook-off. I'd rather be under the stars, but, you know. She puffed her cheeks out, clutched meaty digits at her fleshy neck, and made noises miming asphyxiation. Crusher's tongue shot out, a lightly mocking chuckle. Is the food module not to your liking? I did not realize your kind was so particular about your foodstuffs. F grunted. I've seen them eat fruit. Crusher felt her stomach's flip again, as Sam said, Fruit's good for you. Keeps you nice and regular. She turned to the captain. The module's fine, does what you want, even if it does usually taste like melted plastics. The thing is, when we stopped on that asteroid the other day, I found a little farmer's market. Rare out here. F leant in, whispered into Crusher's external tympanic membrane. Purveyors of exotic food and wares. That's right. Sam was beaming at them, that post-ape reflex that was supposed to radiate a non-threatening demeanor. It merely made Crusher hungry. Anyway, Sam continued, at the market I found something I've not had for, maybe 2 years? Cost me a bloody fortune, but... She curled the digits on her paw in a complicated gesture that Crusher didn't recognize, and pressed it to her lips. Mwah! Absolutely worth it. Crusher tasted the air again. It did smell good. What beast's flesh is it, human? Sam, said Sam. You've never smelled this before? Sam turned back to the lightly smoking grill as Crusher replied, I have smelled similar, but... F, whose olfactory senses were superior to hers, being of the tracking lineage, cut in. High levels of salt, an animal bred merely for consumption, very fatty, 0 complex carbohydrates. A carnivore's meal? Indeed. Sam made a slightly indignant noise in her throat. We're omnivorous, remember? I eat just as much meat as you... She paused, then tilted her head to one side on her too thin neck. Maybe not as much as you guys, but you know what I mean. F suddenly looked worried. Using the delicate body and visual language of their species, he said it smells close to human flesh. Crusher couldn't contain her surprise. All 4 of her lids drew back, exposing her eyes to the harsh light the human had hung from the ceiling. As her pupils attempted to adjust her carnivore vision to the mammal's daylight, she hissed, "Surely not. Humanity appears to be the least likely to consume their own." Air flicked his tongue nervously. Crusher turned back to Sam, who was once again on her haunches, prodding at the sizzling slices of pink flesh. "What creature is this, human? If I find you to be cannibalistic, I will be forced to jettison you from the cargo bay immediately." Sam looked up at them, mouth a wide O of absolute horror. She sat there silently mouthing for some time, face turning to her cooking, and then back to them, disbelieving. Finally she spoke. "You think I'm a cannibal? You realize there are a few worse taboos for us, right?" "Of course. Hence my eagerness to freeze you in the blackness of space if you are. You humans are a violent and bloodthirsty species at the best of times. We remember the war you fought against us and our empire." Sam stood now, barely up to the Lacertian's shoulders, but still, a terrible vision of bright red fur above her fleshy face and intense green eyes. "Don't give me that shit. You started it. Thought would be the usual mammalian pushovers you got on your world." She took a deep breath, calming herself. It did nothing to ease Crusher and F, however. He turned to the captain, hissed, "Perhaps it is a creature genetically similar to her species." They waited until Sam smiled at them, disarmingly. "Look, I realize that had the potential to go badly wrong. Why don't we start over? I appreciate you giving me passage across the sector. I'm not a cannibal, and I'm not dangerous. I wasn't even alive when the war ended. We don't live that long. Here." Sam stopped, spearing 2 pieces of now slightly browned meat with her skewer. Crusher tasted the air around it, listened as it crackled and hissed in the air. She looked at Aerith, saw he was doing the same. It did smell good. Very good. "You promise this is not some butchered human? I would gladly eat such, but not accept it from another of its kind." "Yes," Sam snapped. "I promise. Eat it. Now." They took a piece of meat each, thick scaled claws unaffected by the still scalding temperature. Crusher hesitated before she ate, glancing once again at F. He was watching her, mouth open, saliva pooling around his lower fangs, waiting to follow her lead. She took a deep breath and popped the meat into her mouth. Crusher let it sit there, doing nothing. She chewed a little, then a lot. Finally she swallowed. "That was..." F had swallowed his morsel. "Please, human, say there is more of that meat. It's Sam." Crusher cut in. "Sam?" she said, with a sibilant hiss. "Tell us there is more." Sam grinned again. "That's better. Sure, there's more. I brought about 60 rashers back." "What beast is this? I've never tasted anything like it." Sam looked slightly perplexed, hairy ridges above her eyes crossing slightly. "Really? Well, on Earth we've got loads of them. Used to kill about 120 a year." F made a dismissive noise in his throat. "That is not many at all. Million. 120 million. His dorsal spines raised in shock. "That is a staggering amount for a mammalian species." Sam shrugged. Crusher pressed on, feeling her saliva ducts filling at the smell coming from Sam's grill. "What animal was this?" "A pig." "These rashers come from pigs? What are they named? What cut is it?" Sam shrugged again. "I dunno, but they're called bacon. The rashers, I mean. Hey, you want some? Could teach your food module thing to reproduce it. Won't be the same, mind. Something to do with the pigs needing to be outside instead of, never existing at all, and the flesh being made by messing about with molecules and that." She turned and rummaged for a small box which emitted vapor at the cold air inside, met with the warm air of the ship. "Here." Sam held out 2 plastic wraps, each containing, according to the label, 20 rashers of purebred, genetically modified, reduced salt, organic, free-range bacon. The captain was amazed. "You show such kindness. Why? Why grant us this gift and allow us to recreate it in our modules?" The diplomacy of the war, the deals and bargains made, Could have been avoided if only the humans had shared the amazing food before now. Well, Sam said, me, Mum, when I were a kid. Well, Sam said, me mum, when I were a kid, would make us bacon sandwiches. Don't ask. As F opened his mouth to question, and especially when something bad had happened. Bacon, she said, eating a slightly burned rasher with obvious pleasure, soothes the soul. It is surely the meat of kings. Sam chewed thoughtfully. Actually, it's real bad for you. Real bad. Causes cancer, bad for your heart, that sort of thing. But... F interrupted. But it is worth it. Yeah. Sam raised a hand suddenly, palm out, making them flinch. That was supposed to be a high five, but yeah, bacon is worth it. Spread the message. Try not to start a religion. She chuckled and turned back to her grill, humming a nothing tune. Kresha looked at F, who was giving her the same thoughtful expression. Up till now they'd praised the Emperor and only the Emperor. The Empire was grand, and all knew it. And yet... Bacon.